Okay guys, welcome. Today we are continuing with the milling process. Okay, and last week we started working on this workpiece and we achieved the dimensions of 120 millimeters. Okay, now for today we will aim to do two things. Okay, the first thing is to achieve the width now to 60 millimeters. So we are going to machine this side of the workpiece and this side of the workpiece, and the width of this is to be 60 millimeters. Okay, how is this to be done? I'll explain in details later. Then after you get the width, we are going to machine this slot that is 12 mm in diameter. Okay, that's the objective for today. Now, the first thing we'll do is to machine that face. It's actually the third step. The first and the second step was last week. We're doing what we call face milling. Okay, face milling. And we're using a diameter 20 end mill. The speed is 120 mm, 1200 RPM. And then after that, we are mounting the workpiece in this fashion, like how I put it down here. And no, last week we mounted the workpiece this way, correct? Then we cut this way. What kind of milling is this called?
Side milling.
Peripheral milling, because we are using the peripheral of the cutter. Okay. Now today we are mounting it this way, and I'm cutting it using this edge here, and I'm cutting it this way. What kind of milling is this called? We are doing vertical milling. There is no horizontal milling machine here. This is called, if this is peripheral, this is face milling. Okay, this is face milling. Alright. Now what happens is the cutter is rotating this way. Okay, it's rotating this way. And your workpiece, when it goes in this direction, it is down cut. Okay, and when it goes in this direction, it is up cut. You will observe that there is a difference between down cut and up cut, and that's your surface finish. Alright, you want to cut such that your surface finish or your finishing cut is a down cut. You understand? I'll demo that later, one step at a time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set it up first. Okay, do we set up the workpiece first or do we set up the cutter first?
Workpiece.
Why do we set up the workpiece first?
Now you can get cut.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter which side you are using, it's okay. Right? You don't need parallel bars for this. And then you tighten. Okay?
Then you can plug again, right?
And then you tighten. And you hold it down firmly with your finger or two fingers. Okay? And then press. Oh, before you clamp, always check your vise and make sure that there are no debris or chips, okay, on the clamping surfaces. Make sure it's clear. Then you put this down, then you tighten it. Okay. Now as you tighten it, you'll come to an initial resistance. Remember the resistance? Then you give it a tap. You will go past the resistance, then you go 1/4 of a round or half a round at max. Okay, and then that's good enough.
Half a round or quarter of a round, before or after the resistance?
After the resistance, then you give your workpiece a firm tap right at the center, and then that's good enough. There's no parallel bar to be turning. You just want to make sure that it sits. Okay?
One or two will do.
Just once or twice. Yeah. That's mounting of your workpiece. Okay? Now the next thing you want to do is you need to lower your table. Or maybe you don't need to lower your table. What I'll do is this. I will move this in. And I'll move it across. Now some of you realize that I did something interesting today on my table. I use a marker pen and I drew arrows here on the table, okay? Because it's not vandalism, it's a whiteboard marker. So what happens is that if you look at the X, Y and Z, I set everything to 0. Now if I go in this direction, it's positive. If I go in this direction, it's negative, okay? Now this direction, the handle, with reference to this handle, clockwise is positive. When you're rotating the handle, anti-clockwise is negative. Now if you feel that you are prone to making this kind of mistakes, there are some students who think that they are moving away, but then they went in and they made a deep cut in their workpiece. You can do so. You can write this on the table, okay? There's a marker behind, you can make use of it. I better take away the permanent marker. Okay? And likewise for the y-axis, if you move in, it's positive. If you move out, it's negative. Okay? And then if clockwise is going in, anti-clockwise is coming out. Anti-clockwise is negative. There, over here, I write clockwise is positive, means it's going up, the table is going up. Anti-clockwise or counterclockwise, CCW, is negative. You can see the numbers going negative. Okay? So if some of you have got tendencies to make these positive, negative errors, you can scribble on your table. It helps you to see it better. Okay? Now the next thing what I'm doing is that I'm moving the thing away from the vise. And I always put a piece of wood here so that if the cutter drops, it drops on the wood. I take out the lock nut and I choose the spring collet. The spring collet is a diameter 20 spring collet, and I put it in here. Right? And I don't screw in many rounds. As long as it holds, it's good enough for me. Okay, once it holds a little bit, it's good enough for me. I just leave it there. Now, I take a piece of cloth, right? I got my cutter. I can take out my cutter, right? I wrap the cutting edge with the cloth, okay? And then I insert the cutter, okay? Then I tighten it. Okay, I hand tighten it first, then I take the cloth out. Now, what happens is this, when we are doing the locking or the mounting of the cutter, before we use the C channel to hammer, we need to ensure that it's at the low speed. Okay? If it's at the high speed, right, you need to press the lever down. You need to change the speeds. Okay? If this handle is in the way, just pull it out slightly and you can rotate it downwards, or you can rotate it to the back away from it, okay? So that it doesn't obstruct you. Right? Now once this is secure, hold on to this like this, and then you hammer it once, twice. Okay, if you don't feel secure about it, alright, you can just bring it in here and hammer it the third time. Alright, be careful when you use the mallet. Try not to hit it this way. Alright, chances of missing is higher, so you just tilt it this way and then you hammer. Okay? Now, once this is done, you can take this back. I'm not going to start milling yet. I would like you all to take your workpiece and set up your workpiece. And then once you're set up, you come back here. Thank you very much.